Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It is Monday, October 6th. This is episode 232. Matt Roy, Chuck Miketinac, Javier over there on the keys. Chuck, how was the weekend? We got some good football this weekend. A lot of upsets in the college ranks, a lot of upsets in the NFL as well.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch a whole lot of college football this weekend. I watched a little bit of West Virginia and BYU, but when West Virginia looked like they weren't interested in playing any defense, I was like, I've got better things to do.
That was Friday
and
night.
that turned out to be a good game.
Yeah, somehow West Virginia backdoored that spread too, so RIP to all the BYU bettors out there. But a lot of good football this weekend. Texas lost, which was, the fall from number one overall in the AP poll coming into from the preseason to now. Penn State obviously was the huge headliner, lost to UCLA. I think they were the number 2 team coming in, and they're both now out of the top 25, which is crazy. We're not going to do a lot of college football today. We had, I want to remind everybody to subscribe to the YouTube channel, both News 4, Fox SA, download, rate, review the podcast version, wherever you get your podcasts. We're going to talk Spurs today a little bit. Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs had their silver and black scrimmage on Saturday night. Victor did play. A lot of players did not play. Jeremy, Harper, Fox, all out. They're going to be out tonight as well, while all of them recover from various different ailments. Victor will be playing tonight as they play I'm not going to pronounce it. It's a Chinese team. I'm going to mess it up, so I'm just going to leave that alone. But Victor really put on a show and kind of showed everyone exactly why he put on the weight that he did this offseason. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and if he can make a leap into the MVP conversation in his third year. The Cowboys put together their best performance. We're going to talk about what to take away from that, as I'm not really sure they played an NFL team this weekend in the Jets. So, but with Dak Prescott playing at the level he's playing at, they could go a long way if he continues that. So, and the Texans, they got a win. Not sure what to take from that as they played the JV Ravens. So,
I don't know, man. They're NFL teams. I think you got to give flowers when flowers are due. They manhandled the Ravens, and they were playing with Cooper Rush, but we all saw Cooper Rush play pretty damn well for the Cowboys last year. So, flowers warranted for both teams after those performances over the weekend, no matter who they're playing.
And not Zay Flowers.
That's right.
So let's go Spurs first. We're not going to do area code today because there is no 232. So
who knew?
Now you know. The more you know. The Spurs hosted over 10,000 people in the Frostbank Center for the scrimmage, the free scrimmage. Wemby, I thought he impressed, did well, and really showed exactly what he's been working on this offseason. But it was pretty evident. You can go ahead and play that, Javi. This is the play that everyone was talking about afterwards. Throwing his shoulder right into Luke Cornett and doing the esque dunk there during the scrimmage. It looks like Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's very Giannis. And Giannis started doing that when he gained the weight after his third and fourth year. You go down, put that shoulder into him, create a little bit of separation, you gather, and you put it up and get it in. That was one of his most impressive plays. He had a lot that were really, I think some of us might have forgotten how good Wemby was because he didn't play last 3 months of the season. But I think now that we're seeing him, we're like, damn, we missed this.
Well, that one play you showed, let's be honest. When there are real games, he's not going to be able to walk the ball up the court and then be able to go do what he wants to do.
Fair.
But yes, he does physically look like he's broader, thicker, stronger, all of those things, right? And we already saw last year on the defensive end, didn't matter how skinny he was, he changed the way teams attack the rim, right? Like, you're not going to go do it. It's not very smart if you're going to go try to just jam the ball and try to see if you can jam one down his neck, because the one thing he really showed repeatedly last year is he will put up a fight, that you will not, even if you get yours around the rim, which didn't happen very often, he is going to push back whenever there's inertia coming his way. So the fact that he's got the broader frame, and, we're talking about this about CJ Stroud the other day. I mean, as big as CJ Stroud is, he still hasn't gotten the man meat, right? He's still going to get a little broader. It's the same with this kid. He's going to naturally get bigger just as he grows into this frame, and he's clearly not growing. He even grew over the summer vertically. So, yes, positive steps obviously made by Victor during the summer.
But what we saw a lot last season and in his first year is people are like, you know what, we're going to abuse that little skinny kid and we're going to bully him around. And a lot of times they were able to. You're able to wear Victor down, or you were able to wear Victor down in his first 2 seasons. I think now that he has his body and his physique in a mode or in a level to where he can withstand some of that punishment. And now, as evidenced by that play, he can dish some of it out. And he wasn't really able to dish any of it out. He was always very finesse, not really using much of his size and his strength because he didn't have much strength to exert onto people. Now, it looks like he at least can go and fight back a little bit. And yes, they got Luke Cornett and they got Kelly Olynyk, so he didn't have to be the main enforcer. But now he looks like he can be a little bit of an enforcer. And Giannis got up to that MVP level when he was able to give out and dish some of that punishment instead of taking all the punishment. So at least as evidenced by that play and some of the other moves around the rim during that scrimmage, I think the optimism around Wemby and how good he's going to be this year, the level that he's going to play to this year, is well warranted by Spurs fans.
I think so too. And I think, even with the added weight and the muscle, he's still, when his brain finally catches up with the rest of his body, and it has to a certain degree. I mean, he's super athletic, but when he gets twitchier and his stamina gets better than it has been, because I think he said he worked on that too, look out, because when you got a guy that's playing baseline to baseline and can go, that's when I think you're really onto something.
You can tell that there's just a different tone and there's a difference in his demeanor this year, whether it was on opening media day, whether it was in his first press conference after practice, whether it's on the floor. It's very detail oriented. And as he said in his opening press conference, much more violent and intentional with his body, with his physique, how he trained this offseason. You can kind of tell that he's like, I'm sick of putting up with your guys' crap and people thinking that you can push me around all the time, because he did get pushed around by a Jonas Valanciunas and by some of these other big guys. He's now able to hold his own. And if he can hold his own and keep up through 70 of the 82 games, 75 of the 82 games, and really not fade away down the stretch of the season and continue to play at a high level, then the ceiling for the Spurs goes up 3, 4, 5 wins as well.
Oh, yes, easily. I think so, yes.
I mean, and let's hear what Luke Cornett said afterwards. Luke Cornett was the one that Wemby barged into on that fast break. So let's hear what Luke Cornett said after the game.
And I think he's finding his way too to I definitely think he's got a stronger ability to also be able to make those moves, and I think kind of maintain his balance and maintain the ability to get into gathers and get into finishes from there is all a part of it. And I feel like you start seeing those gaps kind of being bridged together. And obviously as we start games and stuff that'll be really cool to just see as he addresses that and as the team work together to kind of enable that. But I mean, his ability to obviously once he gets around the goal and gets downhill, and so his ability to actually kind of make some bumps and then be able to gather where with his reach and his length of his strides and stuff like that, he can just be honestly a monster finishing.
Yeah, I mean, he was a monster finishing before. We've seen the crazy plays from the free throw line. First, also, someone get Luke Cornett a comb or something. He looked like a peacock out there.
Yeah, but dude's playing ball, man. Give him a break.
Throw that shot back up real quick, Javi. Just look at his hair. It's just he just got done playing, but it's like somebody. He looks like a peacock in the back of his head. It really does.
I don't know.
It's
I think you could easily create a new fad.
I think you're just jealous of the hair there.
100%. That is fair.
If I took my hat off, I'd probably look just like that too. So anyway, we've seen Wemby is very good and nimble around the basket, but now that he's putting that weight on, now that he can withstand a little punishment and put some, it says a lot that he's able to put the weight on and still maintain that agility and that touch around the basket. And we're going to have to see that his size creates so many mismatches already, and now that he's getting broader, the roster says he's gained 5 pounds. It looks more like 10 to 15. But I think that his size creates even more issues for defenses who were already worried about Wemby. So.
Yeah, you think about just the eye test, right? He looks different. 5 pounds doesn't seem like it would be that much when you're stretching out a frame that he's got. For sure. It seems a lot more than 5 pounds.
Do you think that if all goes according to plan, that we'll be talking about Victor in the MVP discussion this year, if he stays healthy, barring health.
I think, that's kind of a team thing too, right? If they're winning a lot of games, if they, extraordinarily make a huge leap this year and catapult themselves into the top 4 or 5 teams, then I think maybe yes. But I think ultimately MVP, you've got to look at teams that are really high achieving, not just individuals that are having great seasons.
I think that he'll be considered and he'll always be in the discussion as long as they're in the top 6-ish in the West, as long as they're around 50 games, because the NBA is itching to make Victor the face of the league. Some would argue that he already might be. And so I think that there will be Victor in those conversations until the very end, or unless somebody completely blows everyone away. Like, everyone knew Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to be the MVP last year. A lot of people are still pounding the pavement for Nikola Jokic. But I think the NBA is just so desperate for that face now, and we overblow that every year. Who's the face of the NBA? Who's the new face with LeBron leaving? LeBron is probably announcing that this is his last year in the league tomorrow. At least that's the speculation. The NBA is going to crave the new face, and if SGA can be the face, they would love it. But I think they'd love it even more if Wemby could be the face. So he'll be in those discussions no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, OKC has had the benefit of the last few years is, in terms of branding and marketing, their players are out there and they're getting a big push, and, they're the best players in the league.
Yeah.
Too.
How many times did we see that commercial with SGA and Chet?
Yes.
And God.
Once too many?
1,000 times too many. It was every break.
Yes.
It was like during the Final Four when they kept playing that one Lady Gaga song. Oh God, I forget it now. But they kept playing the new Lady Gaga song.
What a pro wants.
No.
What a pro needs. But I mean, those guys, they seem likable. So I mean, I think the spots, at least over time, and then watch how these guys play ball. Maybe there's a glimpse into their personality a little bit.
Fair enough. And it'll be fun to see the Spurs on the floor tonight. Actually, the Chinese team has Victor Oladipo on it and a couple of other former NBAers. So that actually might be an interesting game. But check that out tonight. Let's move to the Cowboys here. So the Cowboys dominated the Jets 37-22. It was not as close as the final score indicates. They gave up a couple of late scores when it was pretty much garbage time already. Dak Prescott, 18 of 29 for 237 yards and 4 touchdowns. My main question for you is this. Yes, it was a dominating effort by the Cowboys, which is weird to say in this year. But what can you take from it, as the Jets, I think, are clearly the worst team in the league, or at least bottom 3 in the league? The Titans even got a win yesterday, so they're not winless anymore either. But what do you take from the Dallas Cowboys win over the Jets, despite it being the Jets?
Well, 4 offensive linemen out for the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 receiver out.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 receiver out.
Mm-hmm.
2 defensive linemen out.
Mm-hmm.
They lost 57 during the game. And so, with all that being said, you still have to go win on the road. I still believe that Jets quarterback is super dangerous. Hopefully it happens for him at some point, because he certainly seems like he's got the entire skill set, and he's big, and he's, he can run, and his arm's good. I just don't know that the situation maybe is the best for him in terms of building the resume, obviously. But man, that's a good win. You go win anywhere on the road these days in the NFL. Yeah, there's something to be said about the Jets are down and, the Cowboys should have beaten them, blah, blah, blah. But you've got to win these type of games when you're building your own resume to try to make a push for the postseason. And while that's going on, it was nice that the Eagles finally stubbed their toe, right? So all of a sudden, things get a little more interesting. I just was really proud that there were guys that found a way to impact the game. I mean, Flournoy, right? Nobody's even talking about this guy during training camp, but when he catches the football, he looks like a running back out there. He looks like 33 when he's got the ball, right? The way he finishes runs, and
Speaking of
the
33.
way he's hard to run down. 33's having an amazing year. What a nice pickup. What was the problem in Denver that they couldn't bring him back?
He was just recovering from an ACL and didn't have 2 good seasons.
So, I mean, right there you go. I
like Javonte.
So, yeah, I mean, he's really playing well. I mean, 53, right? Is that his number?
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Houston.
Yeah, he's great. Oh yeah,
Is it 53 or 52?
53.
Okay,
Sack and a half
Dude,
yesterday.
like
He
that
leads
guy
the team
gets
in
in the
sacks
game
now.
and he makes plays every time. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Like, we got a chance to talk to him a little bit after the Giants game and get to know him a little bit. He's a fun-loving dude, but clearly a guy that can make plays and has earned the right to be out there more. So with all these moving parts, guys are getting a chance to step up and play. And they had a guy yesterday lead him in tackles that I know nobody's ever heard of. I can't even remember his name. You know, it's just, you got to have this kind of effort. And again, the other team opposite you is an NFL team, whether you want to call them that or not. And so they're trying to find themselves with a new coach and, you know, a hard-nosed coach. But mercy, what a performance, I think, by the guys that played.
All right, so since you gave me the opening on the Eagles, what a win for the Broncos, first of all.
Absolutely.
I think the Broncos went in there and took that game after they didn't trail, and they had 2 losses. They were 2-2 going into yesterday. They hadn't trailed for 1 second in either of the 2 games that they lost. Actually, they hadn't trailed for 1 second in the fourth quarter of any game this year, of any of their 4 games, and they were 2-2. They went in yesterday and were trailing the entire game and punched the bullies in the mouth in the Eagles. And I think they exposed some of the real flaws that the Eagles have. On offense, the Eagles just kind of go inside themselves a lot, and they shrink in those big moments, especially this year, and when they can't really get the pass game going. Yes, Devontae Smith took advantage of Riley Moss a lot yesterday, but I think that both things can be true at the same time. The Eagles are not as good as we thought they were, and the Cowboys are better than a lot of people thought they were, and I think that showed yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's just the NFL, right? Week to week. You know, do you think that the Saints are going to do what they did against the Giants? You know, there were a lot of teams that hadn't won a game. The Titans won a game. It's just what you get every week in the NFL. I mean, the other teams, they get paid too. I know it's an old cliche, but, you know, there are jobs on the line every single week with coaching staffs, with players. And so you're going to get a certain amount of inertia every single week from these teams. It's just the way it is. So to simply poo-poo and say that, you know, the Jets were Appalachian State or somebody, you know, I mean, it's just not fair.
Let's hear from Shoddy after the game.
There's a lot of things to celebrate. There'll be a lot of things to clean up, but man, the effort and play style on both sides of the ball and special teams I thought was terrific. I thought the defense played physical, man. I thought Maris did that. You know, the pass rush was incredible, you know, because I was sitting there working on calls and I'd look up and see Justin, you know, on his back or running for his life. And, you know, great energy, man. Our guys expected to win this game. They expected to play well, and I think that's important, and that's what we're trying to build.
I said this on X yesterday as well. Both things can be true at the same time. The Cowboys played a good game yesterday on offense, defense, and special teams. They played good football. And the Jets suck. Both things are true. The Jets are really bad. If they had lost to the Jets yesterday, I think we would be burning the Cowboys to the ground today. Like, if you lose that game, like, I know that they were so banged up. 4 out of 5 offensive linemen hurt, and the O-line is the area that needs the most continuity and needs the most practice together, and you're starting 4 guys that usually don't start. Out Turpin, so it really hurts you not only on the offense, but it hurts you in the kicking game because he's one of the most dynamic returners in the league, and you're missing CeeDee Lamb on offense. So Jake Ferguson has stepped up in a huge way. George Pickens has been massive for this team with CeeDee out, and Jalen Tolbert and Ryan Flournoy have come out of nowhere and been much better. I think we've all been trying to anticipate a Jalen Tolbert emergence over the last couple of years, and finally with the target shares starting to go up a little bit. But I think the most impressive thing is that the offensive line with people out was able to create a bunch of holes for Javonte Williams. It was the play, what was it, the 66-yarder at the end of the first half when they were literally just trying to run the clock out, and it parted like the Red Sea. And Javonte goes all the way down to the 1-yard line. They score another touchdown. The game's over. 24-3 going into halftime. Game is done. And the Jets had a chance at the end of halftime. Couldn't get anything going. You punt it away. The Cowboys are just like, all right, let's run one play right up the middle inside zone and see if we can salt this game away and go into halftime because they got the ball to start the second half. He runs 66 yards and the game is over. I've been so impressed with Javonte, and I was really impressed with the offensive line, able to run the ball down the Jets' throat. And the Jets, as bad as they are, have players on the defensive front. Quentin Williams is a top X player on the defensive line, a top 10 probably defensive lineman in the league. And he got abused yesterday by backup offensive linemen. And that's what you do when you have a backup offensive line, is you run the damn ball because they don't want to pass block anyway. So I thought the game plan by Shoddy was great. I loved his play calling. I thought that Dak is playing at an MVP level, and the offense overall was just really impressive. The other thing is we didn't really – actually, before we move on to the defense, let's hear from Dak after the game.
There's not many teams in the league that can put four guys who don't start into the game and feel confident about going and winning a game, especially on the road, against one of the most premier interior defensive linemen and some good rushers as well. These guys don't see themselves as backups, as they shouldn't. They've just been waiting on their opportunity. It goes back to April and OTAs all the way through minicamp of guys taking advantage of each rep that they've gotten and knowing that their time's going to come. I had a conversation with the young lineman earlier in the week about, how I became a starter. And so if there's ever a guy who's going to believe in somebody having to step up to the plate and when their number's called and people don't think they're ready, it's going to be me. And so to me, it's just about encouraging those guys and motivating those guys to understand that you're meant to be here. You're here for a purpose. You're here for a reason. Like, don't overthink this thing. It's football. It's a fun, great team game. You've got teammates to count on and lean on. Just go out there and trust that and to let it go. And so.
Yeah. I mean, good advice from him. And speaking about the defense, and the offensive line obviously played great with 4 offensive linemen out. Speaking of the defense, I don't know. I still think the defense sucks, but I think they suck a little bit less than I thought they did at 11:59 yesterday.
Well, they made plays yesterday.
They did.
They had,
the
4
punch
sacks?
out by Maris was great.
Yeah, and apparently he's adept at doing that. I thought it was interesting because he and Wanye and Marist are really good buddies, and so the fact that they combined on that play was kind of cool. But, that's the difference, right? They still gave up, I don't know, I think it was over 400 yards of offense yesterday.
Yeah, but a lot of those were late in the game, and
that's true. But I mean, that's still maybe it wasn't quite that much. I don't remember.
I forgot,
was it over 300 yards or whatever
stats.
it was. It wasn't like a shutdown defensive day. But the big thing is that they got pressure on the quarterback. They made him uncomfortable, and that's a hard guy to get pressure on.
They gave up
because he's so mobile.
378 yards.
Okay, there you go. So close to 400 yards. But you sack that guy 4 times and you get a turnover like that. And you give your offense that many extra possessions. It's hard not to win a game when your defense chips in like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've only forced 3 takeaways this season, including that one yesterday. So they need to do that more. The defense still has its issues. I mean, Garrett Wilson was running wide open, burned Deron Bland, and he was missed by Justin Fields early in the first half. Excuse me. So I mean, there's still guys running open. I just think the Jets are bad enough to where they couldn't capitalize on that. This game would have been closer if the Jets had a semblance of an offense. So I mean, my next question for you is, how many games do you think that the Cowboys can win? And did this game change your outlook on this team? My answer, I think, is no. However, I am impressed with how well Dak and Shoddy are playing and planning on offense.
It's so hard to predict week to week, right? If you would have told me that this is what the Cowboys were going to be facing injury-wise going into this game, I'd have thought, okay, they're going to be in for a dogfight, and they'll be lucky to pull it out. Well, no, they dominated pretty much after the game was 3-3 from that point on. So, what does it look ahead? I mean, we got Carolina coming up, and everybody gave them up for dead, and it's just the same old Panthers, but that defense is legit. And so, if they don't give, or if they continue to do what they've done, which is give opposing offenses fits, well, then that means the defense is going to have to be pretty damn special in this next one. Again, it's a road game. So I think it's a week-to-week thing, and it's hard for me personally to, spitball what I think this is going to look like a week from now, a month from now, all that stuff, because it's truly a work in progress for these other teams too.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The Cowboys did it once. Okay, do it again. I want to see you do this against, and it's the Jets. This is what you should have done. If you're a team that Shoddy thinks you are, you're a team that the Cowboys think that the Cowboys are, you're supposed to do that to the Jets. Do it again. Now you're going to Carolina, who comes off a good win against Miami, who gritted one out against Miami yesterday, and they were home dogs to Miami. I don't know what the line is or the early line on Dallas and Carolina, but Dallas is 3.5-point favorites. So in Carolina on the road, that's going to be a rough game. I want to see you do this again. And then maybe you'll start to get people to believe. But even if you do it again against the Panthers, people are going to say, oh, you just played the Panthers. So if you're 3-2-1 coming home against the Commanders, then do it against the Commanders, and then we'll believe you. You know what I mean? It's never good enough.
And the Commanders' defense was really, really good yesterday too.
Man, the Chargers are in trouble. Without those two offensive linemen, without Slater and Alt, they are in trouble.
Sure look like it.
In Los Angeles.
But, again, give flowers where flowers is due. If, you can't, if you're the Washington team, be concerned about who's in there and who's not there. They had a job to do, and boy, they damn sure did it after it was 10-zip.
Oh, 100%. But I'm just saying that the Chargers are. I don't think that I don't think the Commanders are as good as they looked yesterday. I think the Chargers just had a really, really bad day. The Commanders are still a really good team, though. So,
amen.
Anyway, let's talk about the Texans here. Texans beat the Ravens 44-10, held Baltimore to 207 yards of offense, forced 3 turnovers. Real or fake? Did the real Texans finally stand up, or was this just bad Baltimore?
A little of both. Obviously, they're banged up, and when you don't have arguably the guy that most would say would be in the MVP conversation every single year, wasn't there, you can start with that. Having said that, I said this earlier on a podcast last week with you that something clicked in that Titans game where all of a sudden things just started looking a lot easier for their offense. And if their offense ever gets going like it did again yesterday against, a team that has historically a pretty darn good defense, I mean, they're gonna make things real easy on themselves, and it sure is easy to play complimentary football when the Texans' offense is showing what it is capable of doing, like it has for these last 5 quarters.
I think that, like we said with the Cowboys, both things can be true. The Texans played good and the Ravens played bad. But the Ravens, you're missing Lamar Jackson, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Nnamdi Madubuike, Patrick Ricard, and Ronnie Stanley. Like,
boo-hoo!
It's
boo-hoo!
when you
It's
take
life in the NFL, bro.
When you take your 7 best players off of any team, they're not gonna be good. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so
that's fair.
There's a reason that the line on this game went from 8.5. The Ravens were favored to when they kicked off. I think the Texans were favored by like 2.5 or 3. Like the line swung by 11 points because the Texans were nearly fully healthy, borderline fully healthy. And the Ravens have just been decimated. Like the Ravens are 1-4 now, and you are what your record says you are, as what Bill Parcells always says.
Yes, he did.
I don't know if the Ravens are what they say, what the record says, because they're 1-4 and they're still favored to win their division.
God, did anybody see 1-4 for them coming? Not me, man. I
Well,
mean, a lot of people picking it.
Geez, when you lose half your team, you've lost the best players on your team.
But I mean, it's the same thing that's going on with Dallas, and I mean, certainly, Houston's been banged up at wide receiver, and they've been banged up at offensive line.
Dallas didn't lose Dak and CD.
They lost CD,
and
they lost their number 3. They lost 4 offensive linemen.
I know,
that's tough, man.
I know.
So again, I think it's apropos that we give flowers when flowers were due.
I will say that C.J. Stroud looked like a different quarterback yesterday. He looked like a quarterback that actually knows what he's doing. He looked a little bit lost in the first few weeks. Now they're 2-3, and he had 4 passing touchdowns yesterday. There was a run to the right side that he got knocked out at the 1, which I didn't know he had in him anymore. Like I thought that he was kind of all right, I'll pick up 8-10 yards here. I'm going to pick up 30 yards and almost score a touchdown at the end of this game. You can kind of see how much it mattered to him and kind of see how much it mattered to the Texans to make a statement and say, you know what, we're going to come into Baltimore. I don't care how banged up they are, and we're going to win a game. And then we're going to go on and we're going to try and right the ship here.
Run it in.
Right the ship here.
Yeah, what's it called? Run it up.
Run it up.
Run it in, run it up.
No, definitely not. Well, they ran it in too.
Yes.
I mean, they have the Texans have the Seahawks coming up. They're in Seattle, and then they have the Niners, and then they have the Broncos. I mean, it's a tough 3-game stretch. The Seahawks lost a game they shouldn't have lost yesterday, but the Niners won a game they shouldn't have won on Thursday, and the Broncos are won a game that was probably one of the best wins of the season. So I still don't know if the Texans can make the playoffs.
They'll make the playoffs.
You sure?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, without a doubt. That defense is too damn good, and if you haven't watched the last 5 quarters on offense, there's no way they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, but they played the Titans and the decimated Ravens. I want to see them do it against a team that's healthy or a good team. The Ravens in their current state are not a good team. The Titans in their current state are not a good team. Actually, the Titans in almost any state are not a good team.
But remember, some of this is you have to trust what you're seeing with your eyes, right? Because they've got a new OC, they got a new offensive line. The Texans have all this newness, like a lot of teams do, right? These teams they're not what you see right now is not what they're going to look like a week from now, a month from now, 2 months from now. Hopefully, you're getting better. I think Houston for sure is trending upwards.
Right.
It would, if they're not making the playoffs at the end of the year, I would have to see that to believe that at this point.
I mean, one thing's for sure: if the Texans can score 21 a game, they're going to be in every contest because their defense hasn't allowed 20 points yet. So
there you go.
Their defense is killer. TBD on if they can make the playoffs or not, though.
Okay.
That's all we got so far, or for you today on the.
That's it?
That's it.
I thought we were just warming up.
I hope we warm up in this room.
Yes, that's a whole nother story.
That's all we
isn't
got
it?
for the Sneakers Cleats podcast today. Remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, with a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll be back on Thursday for our TNL top 10, our TNL matchup of the week, Steele and Judson. Going to be a really good game. We'll see you then.